Good morning and welcome to Hanover Architectural Products, Technical Tuesday. And let's get technical discussion. We want to welcome everybody today for joining us and thank you for tuning in this morning. We're joined today by two friends of ours, Karen Gibson, and Karen, give us a little Yahoo there if you could. And Karen is with G.R.A.S.S, G.R.A.S.S. They are a green roof installer based in the Philadelphia area. And we have Angela Flegel, and Angela is with Roofmeadow. They are a green roof design firm, also based out of Philadelphia. And let me just give you a little background on how we got to know these two individuals. Hanover, about 13, 14 years ago, built a new corporate headquarters at its location in Hanover, Pennsylvania. And on our office building, we had this warehouse and this roof. So around 2011, 2012, in that time frame, we started getting involved in these projects known to us as green roof projects. And they got to thinking, oh, we have this big roof over top our warehouse. It's just sort of this black kind of membrane. What can we do to kind of incorporate Hanover products into a potential green roof design? And enter Karen and Angela, who got involved and helped us bring that whole project to life. So good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
Good morning.
Thank
you.
Quite welcome. So we wanted to kind of get a little bit of background discussion and history as to how that whole Hanover project came to pass. But if you could, maybe Karen, give us a little background, if you could, on green roof concept in general. You've been around the industry for some time. You kind of know how it kind of got started. Just give you could for the audience just a little bit of background on that, if you could, please.
Sure, no problem. Yeah, I actually have been working in the green roof world for probably 13 years now. And I wasn't there at the very beginning. There's certainly some pioneers, but I started really when it started to get a hold in the Philadelphia area. And at that time, it was really driven by a serious need for stormwater management here in the Philadelphia area. And so green roofs, one of the benefits of green roofs is that they can retain stormwater and hold it and let it release slowly over time so that it has a chance to reabsorb into its environment, as opposed to creating a lot of the surface heavy stormwater issues that we have now with erosion and flooding and all of that. So it was really in this area, that's probably what drove it. And actually, Angela, we were a contractor, but Roofmeadow, which went by Roofscapes back then, was kind of a pioneer in the field in the United States. And Charlie Miller, who started Roofscapes, was really a leader in that field. And she could speak more to that than I can, because he had a great impact on really getting it started here in the area.
Good. So Angela, maybe you could speak to that a little bit from a design element. Obviously we know what comes first is the design of the green roof application and the install, and talk a little bit about how that all kind of plays out and maybe how that all kind of started for us here at Hanover when we started that dialogue with you folks regarding our particular green roof design.
Sure. So the design process, I know we had to do some structural engineering and evaluation to figure out how much weight load your roof could handle. And that's for any project. You have to start with knowing your weight limits, and then you can design from there. But yeah, Roofmeadow is a landscape architecture firm, so we design green roofs. That's kind of our history of our company, and it was founded in 1997 by Charlie Miller, and he just wanted to bring the green roof concept and technology here to the United States from Germany. So it's just kind of snowballed ever since, which is really great.
Here you are. Here you are. Be quite frank with you, when we first started seeing the implementation of green roofs in the industry, we were kind of like, wait a minute, is that taking away from potential paver space on a plaza roof, et cetera? And we quickly learned that our products, Hanover's products, both its pavers, pavers on pedestals, sand bed set pavers, our rock curb, our chapel stone garden wall, could all be utilized into a design concept that worked with the green element. And that's what you started to bring to the table from Roofmeadow and G.R.A.S.S, was how do we start implementing those products into your roof design? So if we could just elaborate a little bit on talking about that process by which we met and laid out different design options, dealt with the structural issues as Angela alluded to, and moved forward on the plaza. If you could maybe give us a little background on that, Karen, how that all took place.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially when it came to the Hanover Green Roof, it was a really exciting opportunity and a privilege, honestly, because Hanover was such an established presence in the market, and we really felt lucky to be able to work with you guys, and the whole experience was wonderful. But it was an exciting, if we could, and we'll take a look. It's
yeah, we're trying.
It's got a lot going on, and we really tried to incorporate as many unique conditions and really use it as a showcase to demonstrate how you really can use all these materials and all the different things you can do up on a roof that people were not necessarily used to thinking could be done. So that's a great shot. This has a lot going on. So we have, like, there are different kinds of green roofs. There are very thin roofs that are not meant to be walked on, that are usually strictly for stormwater management purposes. Those are called extensive roofs. The deeper ones with the more plant variety, perennials, trees, as you show trees here. Those we don't walk on.
Yeah.
But and they're called intensive roofs in the green roof world. And those typically feature deeper media, lots of different plant varieties, and they really that's where you kind of get a chance to showcase some of the wonderful landscaping features. But one of the things we talked about the other day was just the combination of design, as Angela was talking about, and implementation realities. Like this roof in particular, you mentioned, like, you had to meet with a structural engineer before you started and actually do some reinforcements to the roof before we could put all this on there. And that is a real need for any green roof, because it does hold stormwater, it does have weight, and you need to be, your structure needs to be able to handle that. And the other cool thing about it was some of those hills and mounds are actually not all dirt. They're built up with foam insulation to replace some of the weight, so that we can have the appearance of these big rolling hills, or little rolling hills, without having all the weight associated with that.
Yeah, you used a term we were talking the other day, I believe either you or Angela. You mentioned something about false terrain.
Yes, that was Angela.
We had quite a bit of that happened on this particular roof.
Yes.
So maybe, Angela, you talk about what false terrain is and how that all kind of played out on the Hanover Plaza, if you could.
Sure. So in the previous photo, you were able to see some structural walls that give the appearance of a deeper media system. And the way to achieve that while maintaining your weight limit guidelines is through false terrain. So you can see at the back of the photo, right against the building, there's a planting bed that is retained with beautiful Hanover products. And that is built up with what we call false terrain. It's basically layers of insulation, and it's rated for an exterior use. And basically what that does is lift the whole system up to whatever depth you want to design to and can design to. So it gives the illusion and appearance of being taller and deeper than it actually is in reality. The nice thing about using false terrain is that you can create these contrasts in height, which was one of the design concept goals when this was first presented. Some of the other portions of this design kind of mimic the rolling agricultural fields that are surrounding this site. And again, that was achieved with false terrain.
Mhm.
I know we threw a few curves at you folks with respect to our chapel stone garden wall, which was used to create some of these higher elevations. It's heavy stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll come back, we were telling you guys this stuff weighs X pounds per square foot, and you were like, wow, that's really some heavy material. And we did, as we alluded to, had to structurally modify the roof structure from the underside to help carry some of those loads. But ultimately, we were able to transition in the design from pavers that were sort of on grade to pavers that were used in pedestal set. And we made some of those transitions with our rock curb. I think we have a slide here that shows sort of a close-up view, the one that they're pulling up there right now. You can see the rock curb element that was used to help establish some of those grade changes within the green roof assembly, so we could incorporate not only pavers on grade, but pavers on our pedestal system as well. So I know that posed a challenge for especially the installation team, who was here a long, long time, Karen, by the way. Really well.
Yes, yes. We, I'll tell you what, by the time we left, those guys were ready to come back for Sunday dinner every week.
Yes, how about it? Yeah. Yeah, the G.R.A.S.S crew hung out here for quite some time.
They did. They loved you guys. We had a great time. It was it's a wonderful family environment, and we felt incredibly welcome and happy to be there. That photo you showed is a great photo, because there's so much going on, and the rock curb. We love the rock curb because it is, you have straight modules, you have radius modules available. It is designed to just be set on its own. It has the ability to stand on its own without any setting bed or anything. They just sit down right on a drainage layer on the roof membrane, and the water can go under it, and it's strong enough to stay in place. It's a great product, and like you said, it achieves that transition, like where the little patio tables are and umbrellas, those are pedestal pavers, and then you have the rock curb, and then down below, all of those cobble pavers are set in a drainage setting bed. Like we like to use on the green roofs, we don't use sand as much for the setting bed, because we're trying to achieve a higher flow of drainage underneath. So we often use decomposed granite, or even lightweight drainage media from our green roof media suppliers. And then we'll use the sand often just as a filler in between the joints. But this other thing that I love about this design was that stone, the ballast stone in the center of that kind of creates like a little riverbed of river stone.
Yeah.
And that is in fact a drainage channel. So everything slopes down to that. And we did like an epoxy wash on the stone so they don't move, and the water goes right through it, and it works really, really well, and it looks beautiful. I thought that was really creative on the part of Roofscapes and Roofmeadow and you guys in that design. That was cool.
And they're still holding together. A few of those rocks have kind of come loose, but
Yeah,
they're still holding together for the most
Good.
part. But
and that was kind of It's so much of what we do honestly is an experiment in green roofing still. It's such a new industry, and the designs are always evolving. How people want to use the space is always evolving, and trying to find the best way to actually execute all of that is always evolving too.
I know you used a term in one of our conversations called expanding the limits at the time. Now we're going back to 2011, 2012 when we constructed this. And at the time, we were kind of pushing some of those limits. Just give us a quick insight on what you meant by expanding the limits at that time, as far as this design is concerned.
Well, yeah, and Angela, I mean, since I just exhausted some of my breath, do you want to contribute?
Sure. So I think some of the design innovations that are presented here is a mixture of paving blending into the surrounding vegetation, not necessarily delineating the vegetation and the paving, having those kind of blended together to form an entirely different design experience. The use of trees on top of a rooftop was pretty innovative, and accounting for that in the structure as well as the design was challenging. And just, you know, the use of the space, conforming to local codes,
Right.
is into you know, some of the challenges, the design challenges that were presented here.
Sure. I remember just a funny story. I remember getting calls when G.R.A.S.S was out there installing the roof initially, and we get these phone calls to the office by passerbys. You know, people in the area, lived in the area, and they call and they say, hey, you know, you got some really big weeds growing on your roof out there. And we just assured them it was okay. We knew about it. It was intentional. But yeah, just kind of funny because, you know, we're in a very rural area. And for people to see something like this was very unique.
Yeah, and it's probably still unique to that area, I would think.
Yes, it
I mean,
is.
that's something that's interesting too, because in the city, in the urban centers, you know, we saw, that's where it showed up first. And again, because you have so much flat roof area, and because there's this hope of, you know, all the things that a green roof can provide in terms of stormwater, in terms of air quality, in terms of aesthetic, you know, improving people's experience of their space. But it's definitely expanding and growing, and the reality is some of the biggest roofs around are out in the burbs.
Yes.
We need to get some green roofs on top of them.
For sure. With pavers.
With pavers.
That's right. With pavers. That's right. So as we kind of wrapping things up a little bit, what would you, the two of you, say to clients with respect to, or what advice would you give them with respect to, if you're interested in a green roof, here's some initial things you need to look at. Okay, some advice on their building. What could you kind of give us in a quick summary on something like that? Angela, could you maybe address that for us?
Sure. Yeah. You know, of course, I would want to start with what are their weight limits? And then next, I would want to know how they want to use the space, whether they're going to be inviting people out or whether this is just strictly for stormwater management. You know, we have a couple of projects that are retrofits for hospitals, and they've decided to use the roof areas that they have as a visual amenity. You know, nobody goes out on these roofs, but you know, it improves their patient experience, and it definitely has scientific facts to back up the fact that it you know, speeds up wellness and recovery time as well. Yeah, I would just want the client or the owner to you know, figure out how they want to use the space, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, and I think it is a process that does involve planning from an early stage, and the involvement of professionals from an early stage. And it doesn't have to be over complicated, but you do need to have a structural engineer. You do need to have somebody that knows enough about green roofs to know what the realities are on a structure and how to install them and properly interface with what's already there without causing problems. Because if it's done well, it's a huge contribution, and it's not difficult to do well. You just need to make sure you're, going on the right path.
All the I's are dotted and T's are crossed.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Well, look, we're about out of time. So to our folks out there, any questions you might have, you can email to letsgettech@hanoverpavers.com. We're also going to post an email address for Karen and for Angela on our site once we conclude the presentation today. So if you want to reach out to them directly, you certainly are welcome to do so. Our next Technical Tuesday discussion is coming up on May 11th. And that will be a discussion focusing on Hanover's pedestal systems. So please join us then on May 11th, and we'll have that discussion. And I just want to thank both of you, Karen, Angela. Number one, it was great to see you, first of all. And secondly, just to have this conversation, we appreciate your input into this new world of green roofing. So thank you both and have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was great to see you too. Thanks for the invitation. Fun to hang out.
I know.
Take care. We'll see you soon.